Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in on this session. Our first ever webinar is called Sell Smarter, Scale Faster. I have with me two industry veterans. One is Mr. Ankur from Uniglobe, and we have Ranga from TripGame. Okay, let's head straight into the discussion. So we wanted to look at how, want to understand more about how TMCs are evolving with the day. What we're seeing is that a lot of, I think, competition that is there now, both from within and from outside. So we thought we just start off understanding what's happening in the industry right now. What are the challenges that we're facing in the market, right?
Yeah, actually, to say these days, when I speak to the TMCs, there's a kind of a fear. Okay, when I say fear, in terms of losing out the customers to Navan, to other big OTAs, big travel technology platforms who have billion dollars of funding. They seem to be in a hurry to acquire something of the sorts or adopt some technologies inside as their own platforms or as their own to offer a custom solution to the customers. There seems to be an upfront trend in terms of the travel agencies. So this, the adoption, I still feel that adoption of the OBDs in corporate side is still lesser in Indian market at least at this point of time. But still, there seems to be a kind of a FOMO among these TMCs, and there is a lot of inquiries suddenly. There is a lot of interest towards adopting to the technologies in terms of their own solutions and all. Do you feel the same, Ankur?
I think pretty much I view it a bit differently. And the reason why I say is that the large companies are compelled with valuations. And one of the key things of valuation is what's new. What's the next disruption? What's AI going to do? What's the next thing which is going to be the niche, which is going to be for the next 5 years, 10 years, the future, and the judgment day of 20, 25 years ago movie suddenly seems to see the reality, and everybody want to see that what will so rapidly change in this period of time. And travel, if you look at it, has been a very slow moving pace where the ecosystem has been slow to adopt to technology, be it airlines, be it hotels, be it any point of sale tools, even the GDS companies. So the brunt at the TMCs is that they're expected to match the speed of the large ones. Now in the OTA community, like Ranga mentioned, that the need for speed is too high. Everything needs to happen as of yesterday. But the TMC structure is a bit slow. It's like the big elephant in the room. So their competition is multifold. Their competition is what's your new technology? Are you able to match the speed of online travel agencies, which are made on open source, right? TMCs are based on, still mainframes, very patented oriented because of the structure and the type of customers that they have. The larger the TMC, the larger the challenge for them. Yeah. Then the second element that has come is that the fares have become very competitive, right? So for online travel agency, the cost per transaction or the cost per ticket is fairly low because of less support and more of technology, automation or technology, but if you flip it for the TMC, it's still very humanized, the usage of tools. And then the structures of the TMC's customers is such that you cannot do away with their needs. The nuances for which the TMC is called for still needs to be factored. So I think the competition is twofold. One is obviously price sensitive. And obviously now, because technology is the thing, so there's a tremendous pressure within the TMC, to how to take care of your corporates' growing needs, who also now want technology. And B is that how do you end up matching the same price which the online travel agencies are able to do by keeping these costs, which a lot of people call that as human costs, but they are human capital in a way. So it's a funny time and as well as a very challenging time.
So in terms of especially in terms of the OBT modules, there is a lot of growing trend from the corporates as well to have complex work policies, ready-made reportings, self-booking platforms for hotels, flights, all together at one place, and then complex workflows, approval designs and all, and they need to have a convenience of mobile app, WhatsApp-based platforms. Right. So I mean, I don't know how this TMCs are looking at as a challenge, but in terms of adoption, where are we actually from India perspective?
Sorry, again, two answers, because the size of a TMC does matter, right? If it's a very large TMC, meaning if it's got a very large customers like your, the big five or the big four consulting or the big five of the tech companies or the tech giants, where there is massive movement of travelers. So the larger the size of a corporate, the larger the size of a TMC, then the involvement of technology then becomes more like a backbone. It's like a spine, and that has to be there. Then adoption is not a choice, it's a dictation, right? Then the traveler experience takes a precedent. It's a technology UI UX which takes the front seat. That how fancy and how easy is your technology. Now today's generations are born with shopping everything practically on the mobile or on the websites, so you don't have to teach them. There's no tuition on that. There's no manual. I don't think so. If we ever did have a manual for an iPhone or for a Samsung or whichever platform that you have, or how to use an Amazon, or how to use a laptop, it's only you call them when you really get stuck, and then you can Google around and you have your solution. So the expectation from the traveler is that he already knows how to use that. So that training period is gone.
Correct.
Right? So then these organizations, they make it as a diktat to make sure that all the travelers, whatever level they are, right, they spend their time using that particular tool. So then OBT is not a choice, it's a dictation. So then the adoption will be there. But human beings, being humans, will always find ways to get that out. And I genuinely support them. It may not be to show the breach of compliance. It may not be to show that I'm a rule breaker or I set my own rules. No, not a rebellious, but travel is still not completely available in the space, meaning there could be a content challenge. We all know the low-cost carriers do not participate on GDS. So it's a big challenge for a TMC to integrate that feed. The hotels may be too expensive, so people would want to buy prepaid hotel. Now, prepaid may be anti the corporate policy, right? So we are in a state of a flux where there are two objectives. One, become compliant by using online booking tools because we made it for you, save time, save money. At the same time, that cost on the online booking tool is not friendly with the budget. Maybe because of the availability of the content, so you have to pay a one-time fee to get an API feed. It's a cost. Or you get a prepaid content which is cheaper but outside the policy of the organization. So it's a paradoxical state. Now the second piece which I was saying, if it's a mid-market where the traveler count is less, or the organization is a bit flexible, not very dictatorial oriented that you have to do this is DIY, or let's say if it's a lawyer firm, they bill you hourly. For them, they need a travel consultant. They need them more than yesterday, right? So unfortunate situation was a COVID, but thanks to COVID, it's taught everybody a lesson that, okay, this is your core front, this is your core job. You do this, let the balance of the work be going to somebody who's like a seasoned travel consultant, right? So even those law firms, consulting firms, medical, pharmaceutical firms, they do want that technology so that they don't want to be left out. Do you not have an online booking tool? Do you not have a mobile app? Do you not have WhatsApp? Yes, we do. But we are not compelling our staff, to be going and using that, because time is money. So if a lawyer is hired or if a tax consultant is hired, his job is to bill the other person rather than spend, a best case scenario, 30 minutes or 20 minutes for a domestic transaction and maybe an hour for an international, trying to figure out the airline, the policy, the visa, the baggage, the cancellation, the transit, despite all these tools, right? So for them, OBT adoption, technology adoption will be low as 10%, 15%, so to speak. So two sides of the same business model, large market and mid-market. But if you were to go on very small companies, I think for them, it's just a window shopping. End of story. It just doesn't do it. It just doesn't go there. But, in all the three sides, it's still a very fancy tech toy, not only to sell, but also to position. So, as a summation, I would say that the tool has a lot of value. It keeps your policy in practice. It keeps transparency in practice. It keeps your invoicing, billing, a structure, a healthy structure in practice. Adoption is dependent upon, do you want the people to follow the hygiene, or do you want to, put people to just follow it to the T without even looking at a 4 a.m. flight versus a 6 a.m. flight, which may not be feasible. So that's what I think.
That brings to the discussion of there is a word, there is a saying that travel is becoming a commodity. I know there's actually this trend of travel is becoming a commodity is growing in terms of travel industry. But you nailed it nicely with the comparison between a mid market and large TMCs, and then the corporates who are working on domestic front and compared to international front. Absolutely. So, do you think in terms of domestic travel has become a commodity or may become a commodity in future time?
So, it all boils down to the culture of this great country where everything is commoditized or sachet economy, where the loyalties of a traveler can change for as less as 100 rupees. Yeah. So even if you were to travel, thinking of all the top 5 online travel agencies that we have, we might just switch for a Delhi-Mumbai ticket from one portal to another because we're saving something or we're getting extra credit card points, something. So I think big question mark is definitely on the loyalty piece, right? At that sensitivity. And therefore, it becomes commoditized, right? There is no other way in business travel that we would call it commodity. For a consumer market, it may still be commodity. For a TMC, it may get commoditized only when the pressure from the airline is to meet that particular threshold of a volume sale. So we go get those soft benefits, right? To be able to qualify for those soft benefits, you have to really pull the volume on one side versus the other. I think that's the only way it becomes commoditized. If you personally ask me, I think I still love travel, whether it is for business or whether it is for, leisure with family. The minute you put a leisure family into a space, then you become, you get that kick when you save that money. I think that's where it gets commoditized. But when it's business travel, a lot of people might feel it doesn't go from my pocket. I know I have to be compliant. It doesn't matter if it is 200, 300 expensive or some amount which is expensive. So you don't have that emotional, relationship, and you don't get that kick either. So leisure, definitely it's a commodity. And because seats are perishable, India is instant purchase. If you don't buy it now, like you rightly said, the FOMO element will come into play. In developed economies, even if I was to book a ticket right now, after a few hours, I might just get that very, lowest price ticket.
The last minute deals.
The last minute deals. In India, there's no concept like that. Yeah. It's like instant purchase.
I think there's a last minute profitability for airline.
It's true. Yeah. So surprisingly, we are happy letting that seat go vacant. Correct. With an absolute revenue loss, yes. And not make, better designed, incentivized modules or deals to be able to sell like that in this advanced world of, mobile notifications where, you can go crazy looking at your mobile notifications or your email bank or the offers that you might just be getting. I think we are still missing on that element. So we want to say it's commoditized, but we are not monetizing the commodity. And then everything is like a bulk sale. And last thing I'll say, because the India mindset is that, you do like a bulk purchase. So like a hoarder's, mindset, for your profiteering. And we all know that travel is a wafer thin margin industry. So a large player will just end up picking up all the seats, stock, price that they have. And then they are the ones, who's controlling the price like a graphic equalizer. I think those are the only places where I feel that it really ends up becoming commoditized. But both from an intellect perspective and both from an emotional travel attachment perspective, I think it's still not that commoditized. We still have that attachment relationship, either on the phone or in terms of anything from a travel. And I think that's what our travelers also expect, that humanized relationship should be there as opposed to just doing a transaction.
Yes. I think that's where also you have the human touch, but also the technology aspect of it, which kind of
absolutely
reinforces or augments the overall experience as well, right? So now I think it's what we're looking at in terms of providing that unique experiences, which maybe at that digital, that kind of stage that one talks about, right?
I think it's time that rather than just thinking about the end experience, let's look at the entire journey map, right? From the start, where the thinking of that traveling is happened, whether leisure or business travel, and the fulfillment of the travel. And I think technology, I don't think so. Even I think new school kindergarten kids adopt technology. I remember my daughter eating food only looking at the YouTube Peppa Pig videos, right? So it's not about technology. It's about everything is getting attracted towards that. And these are the digital babies, and the new workforce which is coming. So technology has to be there. How can it empower to become a very powerful tool to help bridge these gaps in this part of the country, which is what I call organized chaos, where everything is completely in different modules, completely fragmented, stitch it together and then deliver. And therefore I feel that travel is the space for all these tech companies to really make and stitch every element. And there's tremendous scope. I mean, you call it journey making, you call it ticketing, you call it post ticketing, you call it invoicing, you call it expense management, you call it API integrations, you call it blockchain, you call it payments, you name it, and you'll see a little element which can be fit, in somewhere like a long chain. Everything will have a link, and tech plays a crucial role. And that's what, as TMCs also, we keep expecting if you cannot solve the entire chain, there will be people who will be, becoming the conduits between those, or connectors between the change.
This brings me to the question of AI. There's a growing discussion on AI these days. That technology guys, there is an expectation that when you are involved, when you are bringing in AI, you are killing the travel agency market. I personally doesn't believe that, because AI to some extent can augment. I always believe in augmenting maybe improving the efficiency, augmenting the existing travel agent, the TMC, and maybe enhances efficiency by maybe 30-40% to 50%. That definition can be different.
Absolutely.
But replacement of a complete player itself it's a nonsense discussion, is what I feel personally. So what is your opinion, Ankur?
I think The Judgment Day, that has been a movie that I've always been very fantasized about. And when I first saw a humanoid or a robot, or even those in the shape of pets, I saw that somebody really can see the future. And that's really a very old movie. So it's been very close to me, both from being an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan to how really these things can really shape up. So I think a bit differently. Wherever the precision of the machine will be such that you cannot have any error or negligence, whether be it semiconductor chips or whether be it robotic arm, that's a place where it's a no-brainer, and let it be like that, right? Because that level of precision you can't expect from human beings, right? So again, for them, the assistance of a human being to be able to make that secret sauce of that recipe is that intellect and that skill, or the creme de la creme skill that we have. But that laborious task, which was highly precision oriented, is machine's job. And let it be through AI, through humanoids, through bots, through robotic arms, laser cutting, whatever, technology. And it has shaped up from their angle. But wherever it is an interaction with a human being, you look at Japan, they came back with those servers, if I can say, those who will be serving into the restaurants. You can just punch in. You go to Dubai, where a telecom company will have a funny, I don't know what you want to call it, a robot or a humanoid, who will, walk away with a tray and a water, and then you can just punch in on the LED and then ask you to do that. I think those elements have become too mechanical. Human beings don't expect that, not even the digital babies like we spoke of today. So human interaction wherever it is required, or a personalization where it is required, any customization which is required, taste preferencing which is required, will not have that. Now, can you have those tools where you can remember that, okay, Ranga was at our restaurant, the other day, and he really enjoyed the tiramisu, right? Or he really enjoyed that particular, pizza.
The personalization element.
And that personalization will be that if I am housing Ranga's taste preferences, and then mapping it when the next time Ranga comes in. Or I'm so smart that I can create a demand by sending a notification to Ranga saying that, oh, you know what, it's sunny, the temperature is just nice. How about a pizza and a tiramisu tonight with a glass of wine? So I've created that desire for Ranga to call his family and say, hey, let's go there. I think that's the place where technology and personalization and these AI really need to come. But then I know the data computation is so much so that if you can structure your data, that's where these things are supposed to be coming. And I 10% agree that to some states it's nonsense, because again, we spoke about the valuation of the companies. They want to do the next big thing. So if agentic AI, humanoid, bots, NLP, AI, if these are the buzzwords, if you're not inculcating them within your company, or you don't have partners who do that, then your corporate customers might come back and say, hey, what are you doing the next thing? What's your next thing? So it's also the buzz talk that happens.
See, AI is basically, I a little bit disagree here in terms of AI is a bus stop. The AI is not like any other technology which has been built before.
Sure.
Okay, it's like a computer generation now. Okay,
Yeah.
there is no way that you can say that AI effect can be nullified in any of the organizations in the coming days.
Absolutely.
Definitely, there is no doubt.
Absolutely.
So, impact of AI will be there on many of the things what we are doing currently.
100%.
For example, I'll tell you MIS. I told you many times. If I have to take my company's MIS, especially when I look at my balance sheet, when I look at my data, I have to ask for so many parameters to my accountants to get that data to me. What is the profitability, cost per transaction?
Yes.
What is the delivery? What is the profitability on per transaction and all?
Yes.
These days, I just remove my company name and upload that sheet to the Perplexity, for example, or ChatGPT. There are hundreds of tools. Just it can give me in 5 minutes time what I'm looking for.
Sure.
And also, for example, see MIS part, for example, is sorted.
No, I'll frame it differently. This is nothing very AI, according to me. This is that the technology has matured over its period of time. It's an evolution of the technology, right? So, I'll go back 25 years ago or 20 years ago when we used to write even, in C or C++ or in VB, whatever. You had to even write, the library, the codes, every syntax you had to really remember, right? And then there was no debugging tool. You had to do everything by yourself. But today, ChatGPT can generate that code for you, right? So it's not over the years, the vast collection of this digital garbage, also what we call as data, is now translating into something usable, that you don't need to rebuild these libraries anymore. That's the beauty. Now, how do you put these reusability into your business acumen? That's the ask, right? So, for example, I wouldn't want our travel consultant to keep doing that online shopping. What is the cost of Delhi, Bombay, Delhi? What is Delhi, Singapore, Delhi? I understand that. Maybe I would want to be making use of certain AI technologies in modules and then, deliver it in a journey map. For example, reading of the email, reading of the policy of the customer. It's complex. It takes time to read the email, and emails are normally standard. I have to go from point A to point B with family, without family. Simple, right? You can have a structured email. You can't structure the human brain to only talk like that, but at least you can have a basic structured email, or your AI script can look for the must-haves to define a basic trip for you. So you went online through your API, through your GDS, did that shopping, gave an itinerary, ready to be sent, right? This level of work somebody else can do for the travel consultant, because the selling ability, the selling skill, persuasion skill is still human, like you rightly said. So I have to call back and say, hey, Midhun, how was your last trip? Did you like it? Business travel may still be very unemotional, if I can say. But leisure is about building that level of, imagination. Hey, why don't you go to the Alps? Why don't you go to Aspen? I know you like skiing. So I did that. AI did that hunting of the standard itinerary for me, created in a very nice package, and I'm now ready to talk to the customer. Save that time of doing administrative job every day, day in, day out, which is my bread and butter. But speak to the customer, which is the translation of the query to money. Right? And then Midhun also feels that, yes, he knew all my personalization, he knew my trip, he knew the connection time, he knew the flight, he knew my budget, he knew everything. I think this for us is AI, right? Or use of all this data. The second piece is agentic AI, which really I am looking forward, is that certain tasks, for which, like you already said, ChatGPT can pick up any of those AMIs. In that decision-making room, those questions are pretty standard. At least top 10 questions are standard. Right. The QBR, quarterly business review data, is also standard, right? Why do you need to have another person just run through all that data all over again? Yeah. So this is not intelligent work, according to me. It's like, how do you make use of the same MI data guy and ask him to draw an inference.
Correct.
Ask him to draw a model. Tell him what if the sales were to go this, what if it would go to this, what if something was to go wrong. Do a little bit of a projection, probability and combinatorics. Think of how things could be, which is extrapolation. How the fares will be 2 years down the line. How the fares will be in 6 months down the line. Right? That level of element can now be done because you have all that. So I'll put that agentic AI to do visa processing. Right? So for what I'm an Indian national, I'm going to Singapore. My business travel is 7 days. What details do I need? Don't ask the TC travel consultant to do this exercise. Right? Because this is, after a day, it's too administrative, and either he'll say it out of his knowledge, or the staff will go and online. So might as well have that agentic AI, have that reservoir up to date data, and ask the agentic AI to send the email to the customer, whether leisure or business. I've saved time. So I think as tech, I expect these tools to be sold nicely with value proposition. Your cost of transaction will come down. Your agency's staff productivity will increase. They will be happier using AI, right? That's the best way for a human being to embrace AI. Otherwise, like you rightly said, I'll have more fear of losing my job. So I'll push back AI. Right? I will push back technology. There was a time when people didn't even like computers. Email was automation. Email was advancement. And right now we are so happy not calling anybody but sending an email. Although that's cheaper, because telecom cost for a call is nothing. The cost of an email is more because of the cost of network and routing and going to AWS and all that stuff.
See, great. Actually, that brings, basically in 2010 when we started, our first idea was, democratizing the travel trade.
I like the word.
Especially travel tech.
Yeah.
That's what is the story which is printed in your story.
Yes.
It was a joke at that point of time. But we spoke to hundreds of travel agents, and then we convinced Uniglobe to be on our platform.
Yeah, I remember.
So there was a lot of resistance at that point of time.
I agree.
Today, how is this adoption taking place? The travel agents are still reluctant to adopt these kind of new techs which are coming to the way, because you are onboarding new travel agencies every now and then, I suppose, every month, version 4. So how do you face difficulty in terms of adoption?
No, so it's like picking up a challenge like a challenge, and then picking challenge more like a task that, hey, you know what, this is solvable. So I definitely would like to compliment one thing, that way back in 2010, what you built was fabulous, but it was way too ahead of its time. You see, technology needs to embrace the ecosystem. If I am too advanced and others aren't, it's a big problem. I'll give a very small example of Uber cabs. Well, the app is fabulous. You go to any part of the globe where there is Uber, the app is sacrosanct. It's the same app. Yep. Fantastic, right? But you look at the quality of cabs in this part of the country, whereas you go to Singapore, whereas you go to Europe, you go to US, it's completely changed. So everything is cultural at some point in time. And I think the attitude of adopting the same amount of technology, right? Yeah. So I think at that point of time, the thing that you build, travel tech, is very valid today. I think the demand for that travel tech is, I don't know, exponentially much more higher than what would be in 2010. Even at that point of time, I think the cost of development was skyrocketing. So everybody just couldn't afford technology. And even if you would want to make technology come at a very cost-effective price to the buyer, it wasn't possible. It'll be like you'll have to do a back-end kickback or a discounting. Now people have embraced that technology also by in terms of choice, but also in terms of fast-paced movement. So what I picked up in Uniglobe was, I never wanted to reinvent the wheel, and I don't believe in doing that. So what tool technology we've had from our partner, it was fabulous. I just upscaled it, right? I just added those things which are the must-haves, like in project management or product development, you will say, the must-have, could have, won't have. I think my philosophy has been very crystal on that. I will not give everything. I will just give what matters most, then the other things, right? So the adoption happens from what matters most. And then when the fundamental technology was right, then I think it was selling it differently. You have to get into the pain area of the buyer to be able to resonate that story, that how do you manage checking Delhi, Bombay, Delhi, when 70% of the content is outside of GDS, right? When there are, even if just 3 carriers. So my travel consultant will go to 3 websites, airline.com, and then check on the GDS, come back with 4 options, right? Make a fancy itinerary, all human, and then send it to the customer. This is like living in medieval times, right? But now, thanks to open source, thanks to API, thanks to airlines getting a bit nimble, thanks to all those tech platform companies who've done a great piece of job to be able to get it together. Now, this is, when Uniglobe inducts an agency, we're not giving you a choice. We're saying that this is the technology. If you don't want it, think about it, come back and then join the consortium. Because our objective is that we have to deliver a CAGR of 12.5% to you. I want to put my skin into the game. How do I do that? I can't give you a medieval time technology or the technology that you have. I have to give you something which is matching to the times of today and capable of growing tomorrow. So that brainchild and that intellect is ours. That's a value and philosophy of Uniglobe. That you come to me with a basic capital, you come to me when you've got your customers, I will teach you how to do multinational business. I will give you shared technology. I will give you the CRM. I will give you everything that you need as an armor to take your sale from here to here. Because what got you here will not get you there. So because of this backbone now being ready, the go-to-market strategy being so strong, with our point of sale solution, our online booking tool having practically every content, including that of NDC today, is really a very strong confidence for a small agency. He's got that money, he's got that capital, he's got that customer base, but unfortunately, this has become so complex that they don't know how to do it. We are saying outsource this how to us. We are your consultant. We are your navigation. We are your Google Maps. We'll navigate you through all these challenges. All you need to do is have that faith in us, have that power of one, believe in the consortium, and the consortium will deliver. So of all the cutovers, practically Ranga and Midhun, if I recollect in the last 2.5 years, none of the consortium cutover members we've had without a zero tech adoption. It has been 100% tech adoption. It has to have a front office solution. It has to have a back office solution. And because I know you're emotional to having your staff, keep them. You want to keep your accountants who've been there with you for 20, 25 years, please keep them. But we will empower them with those tools that the work they were doing for 2 hours, it'll be done in 5 minutes. That's our value. This is what we want to sell.
Game,
So I'm not selling you that, hey, come to me, we both will make money. We are saying that we will make you multinational so that when you bid for a customer, the customer can see that pedigree in you. And that will only come when we are ready. So I'm very happy. I'm very impressed. Although it may have come a bit late, but no regrets. The platform is there. The technology is there. I am only taking it, what next can we do? Without having to spend blindly, because the cost of tech spending can go, off the roof. But we want to do something which will matter first to the customer, matter to our internal customer, which is the travel consultant. And then anything fancy that we can build on is an add-on.
So I think this is the point. What we want to try and make is target of the solution. If it is clear and the solutioning is done properly, tech adoption is not a big thing.
Absolutely. You nailed it. I think unfortunately what happens is, at least in travel that I've seen, is we've got two extreme set of people. One is a tech geek guru. Yeah.
Everything automatic.
He knows everything in life.
Right.
True that. But only tech. They don't connect to the ground realities of a staff or of a small company, big company, large company. Right? One, unfortunate skew. The other skew is the kings of the GDS, the gods,
Fully
the Greek
offline.
gods of offline, the cryptics around the world. They know the life nobody else can. And hey, tech doesn't understand anything. I think we are living in those two extreme worlds. If we reach that equilibrium, and this is what I would expect a tech platform or a product solution company to do, you just have to sell a good solution design, resonate with these problems, because a TMC cannot hide under these problems. They are there. Unfortunately, the TMC may not know how to voice the problem, right? They're not good problem statement oriented people. They will just fall back and say, what the corporate is saying, you deliver, you are the best person for me. End of story. But that doesn't happen. You'll have to understand your problem. If you can narrate that problem, fantastic. Else, this is the place where the product platform guys come into the picture. the mix of SME and product. In technology we used to call them business analyst, system analyst, BSAs. I think those are the key people who can marry the problem with that technology solution design it. I mean, in my 6 years, I've done a lot of consulting, solution design. I don't like to be called myself as a sales guy, but I think I love to do this solution design consulting. It works, and a lot of times you have to tell the customer, "I'm asking you, just do it. It'll work." Don't pay if it doesn't happen.
Soft skills require a consultative based approach, solution based approach rather than a transactional approach.
Absolutely. Very well summarized. Yes, that's true. If you're just putting up a solution in front of the customer by name of the tool, you're done. You're done, right? As long as you're telling him, hey, how do you manage your GST? Hey, how do you manage your multi-quotation? Hey, how do you manage, an itinerary? How do you manage duty of care? I think that's where you've grabbed the attention of that customer. Right? How do you manage post-ticketing? How do you do reissuances? How do you send the invoice to the customer? How do you charge on your automated platforms? Do you do tokenization? These are not fancy words anymore. If you don't know this language, you are not needed in this business. Then the customer will consider you as a 1947, 1940 type of a company, and then unfortunately like a Kodak or a Nokia story, your history. Whereas that company has a lot of potential, but because you can't match to the speed of that connect, not the money, the connect, you lose out. And there are so many companies with great customer base have lost because of not being able to convince them that, I can still factor to your travel needs, because the travel needs are very basic. We've just made it very fancy.
I think simplifying the things and
absolutely,
and looking at what are the priorities. Right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, right? Is your end user, is the employee happy?
Yeah.
Right? Are they getting a good experience out of it? Right? That's what I think. At the end of the day, that's what.
I keep saying that we are trying to make business travel as a new Netflix. Now I know Netflix is fantastic. Everything needs to be personalization, but business travel has a lot of limitation. You have to see, it's a boundary, it's a framework, it's a policy. When policy, things are binary. Right? So no amount of personalization will allow you to break that boundary.
Right.
But that's the buzz. That's the in thing. So I think a lot of times even TMCs, including us, tech platforms, they get confused at what are we trying to solve for? Personalization or consumerism? Yeah. In business travel, you don't have consumerism. It's very compliance oriented. Companies want to spend, but they are very budget oriented. You'll have to have a rule laid down. Otherwise, it'll be like anomaly. Anybody can go wherever they want to go, try first class, business class, go standing, go sitting, take an Uber, take a Mercedes. Yep. Everything will be out of that particular thing. So to be able to contain them is...
We faced one of the questions from one of the travelers. For the first time, we were not, as a policy, we should not allow them to book more than a threshold level of 10,000. Okay? It is this policy. So we show around 12.5, maybe 25% up, 25% down, so that it is easier for his choice. Suddenly, one of the hotels which he's preferring, for example, if you're coming to our office, Leela is nearby, then Leela will not be shown because the cost is more than that.
Absolutely.
Suddenly, the convenience, he says that my convenience is gone. I would have booked online. Then you stopped me. Then corporate says, no, you can't, because you can't choose that. Then there is an exceptional approval, there is an offline approval, there is a process to that, how you approach to the travel agent again, talk to them and all. So you are losing the convenience. But at the end of the day, it's a limited box here. There are rules set for a business travel in which you have to operate. So that may have a little bit of inconvenience issues, but that's how the corporates work at this point of time.
And I agree with you. It's funny. So let's say if this travelers meetings were supposed to be in and around this area, and as per corporate policy and the budget, the hotel price was coming that of an MG road.
Yeah.
Who calculates the cost of 3 hours of travel? Exactly. The fatigue of travel, the cost of the cab, whether it is an Uber or a car chauffeur driven cab, whatever it may be. In the end of the day, you send your employee outside, to do work. So the objective will be to make use work hours for work.
Maximize.
Right? Maximize that, not make them lose their energy levels on road traffic, right? What benefit are you giving them? In fact, not only are you losing the productivity hours of that staff whom you've sent to a different location, air cost, per day cost, per hour cost, meal cost. For what? I think so. So a lot of times we also go back to the corporate saying that, hey, we understand that you've tried to make it very binary, but the leverage needs to happen. Now they come back to us and say, hey, you are TMC, why don't you have a geo mapping, geolocation and all that stuff done? Then everything adds to that particular cost, right? And then this cost needs to be passed on to that somebody. Now that's a drift that needs to happen, and that's also a level of conflict that we need to reduce. It'll happen in due course of time. But unfortunately, till then, poor travelers, they will shuttle, they will have to write to their top leadership for an exceptional approval, depending upon the type of company it is. Or unfortunately, when they drop a report, you'll be saying, what was your percentage of compliance and who were the non-compliers and why? But I think...
No, I think that's a great point, because I mean, this is one thing I wanted to ask also. Like, see, as we are now moving into like the next, say, 5 years, 10 years or so, right, many of these technology aspects are going to also maybe percolate more down into some of these use cases. Right?
Yeah.
Where do you see, as a TMC, right now, where do you see yourself as adopting this, or I would say generally even probably even your clients adopting this, or what, or maybe on the extension of that question would be, what would be the kind of requirements that you think will be coming in from these clients?
See, I'll give you a business economics answer first, because what happens is that in the end of the day, whether you use the technology or you don't use the technology, it's all upon the appetite and the fanciness, or the culture of that particular TMC or a corporate. That's why I said, let me give you business economics. A TMC would want lower cost per transaction. Now, how do you get a lower cost of per transaction? Is through using these technologies, whether it is through OBT, SBT, mobile app, WhatsApp, or bots, AI, NLP, or agentic AI. Names, you can decide what you want to decide, but the end result should be that you should have a lower cost per transaction, because then the servicing cost then keeps increasing, looking at the way the inflation is and the cost of staffing is. B is that the productivity or the benefit that we've got into the world of instant gratification. All we want, everything is like right now, 30 minutes SLA, which is not possible only. 15 minutes SLA, right? If everything is online, why don't you go online and check by yourself? You already have got the idea of the cost. If 1 point is $10,000, then the corporate fare might just be either 9,000 or 11,000. It can't be 20,000 or 5,000. That variation is not there, but we don't want to do that. So I think the speed of response, or the speed of turnaround time, like we say, needs to be reduced, meaning ASAP, right? That's the final expectation. Then there is the error rate, or which is another way to call it as first time fix, that you've done it right the first time. We don't want mistakes so to happen. That's another prerogative. Fourth is the digitization element, that how are you, the traveler, whether be corporate or leisure, is always anxious. What's happening to my trip? Where is my ticket? Where is my boarding pass? What's the flight time? Is it on time now? Is there a gate change happen? So if you're able to notify, the traveler of every phase of the journey mapping we spoke about, then the customer's anxiety level will be reduced, and which you can do very well with all these technologies, right? So people, I think we will be becoming like West, like no news is good news. So I want to be intimated only when there is something. Or another type of a customer, that I will look at my phone, I will look at my email when I want to look at it. Whatever information you have, you keep sending me whenever it happens. I don't want to call you and say, hey, what's the stat?
Right.
That's clear. That's not happening. Fifth, and the most important thing, is the post-ticketing or after-sales service, as we call. So date change, cancellation, ancillary stuff. If there is a weather storm, disruption, any unfortunate condition, then either the tool notifies that of an alternate. So for example, a lot of time in West, you will see that if there is a flight cancellation, it might give you an alert, and then it say, okay, your flight is being now rescheduled. Do you want to auto reschedule it or perform for a refund, or wait? Let's say you say, I want to do an auto sketch change. So you picked up Y, it'll take you to an IVR, it'll announce you those things. You will say 1 or 2, or on your mobile app, it'll keep interacting with you through bots and all. These are all standard things that you would expect. Or very simple is that, in the state of a panic, all I need is a human being. So I've been notified that this is this disruption which has happened. Now, instead of using these fancy options, I said, do you want to call to an agent? Yes. And the minute I reach out to the agent is well aware of why this call is being made to that. So I think these are the basic, which a lot of people are calling the future. I think these are the basic asks which are going to be expected, be voiced, be mentioned in RFP, RFI, corporates in the next maybe 3 to maybe 5 years. And to Ranga's point, then at that point in time, it's not a compulsion or a push to have an OBT adoption or a tech adoption. Then it'll be ecosystem, which is reliant, up to date, that you will be connected or you will automatically be finding your technology or your technology provider or your TMC dependable, that I can call up, reach out, check on that particular status. So I think these 3 to 5 years, this must be there. And if you have that, I think you'll be much ahead the curve, with all due respects to what these fancy and nice tools like a Spotnana or Navana are doing. I mean, that's a completely new thing that has happened, and it's a fantastic disruption. Will that disruption get monetized? Will that disruption resonate with the traveler, resonate with the corporate, resonate with leisure? I think that level of human behavioral prediction or consumer psyche analysis is to be seen. So,
and Ranga, do you see from a technology perspective, right? So the next 3-5 years, some of these things, requirements, expectations, do you think that can be matched or even probably accelerated in those timeframes?
Yeah, you must ask that, because a lot of complaints that the TMCs would have is, why does tech take so long when in this automated world, everything is also ready-made? Like code can also be picked up from ChatGPT. This is a very good question.
See, there is the decision of implementing a feature and picking it as a priority depends upon the monetary benefits which the company gets it.
Right.
Okay. Let me nail it as an entrepreneur rather than a tech solution. Okay. So when it comes to there are growing demands of TMCs and the corporates which are coming to I hear at least 50 requirements every week. On a Monday morning, when a product manager comes to me, he says, what are the requirements? There was never a week I have not seen a new requirement in my sheet in the past 15 years.
Maybe that's how they justify the job as well, right? As I'm not needed, right?
We pick some elements out of it, and we pick where there is a quick money. Sometimes there is a money which can be made with repetitions.
Correct.
As a productize, can we productize that elements and those kind of things.
See, business economics, I told you.
Let's look at the features part.
Yes.
Customers might feel so excited about that sometimes, but we built a personalization tools of profiling tools, for example, way back in 2014. You must be knowing these, the complete profile pages. Okay. It was a big development at that point of time, including the passports, travelers, your personal information, credit cards, documents. You must be knowing me.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Visa is still the biggest challenge today, that there's no tool, no automation, no standard checks it can do. It's completely broken.
And I know that's some of the things that we are also looking at working on.
So it all depends upon how we choose the features which we pick up. It depends upon the monetary benefit which we get. But otherwise, if you look at the technology trends which TMCs are especially asking for these days, and which we wanted to pick it up in the next 6 months at least. One is in terms of the features, especially the agentic AI features. Most of the TMCs are behind us now to implement some of the agentic AI solutions. He was also mentioning today, Ankur was also speaking about email parsers and understanding the entire mail, and then frame the context, and then get to the content, and then make a ready-made email for the replies. Okay. There are few companies who are doing in this space already. We know many of them actually. One of my few close friends are working on that area. But the monetization of the tools is still, so basically our industry of TMCs especially, they value this only when they are able to reduce the cost of the existing player. Say for example, if there are 4 people team, if this solution which is actually coming into can reduce that 4 to 3 or 2, then only they'll value. But the problem with this approach is there is an adoption time which takes time, which is actually required for any tool to be there.
Right.
See, we have with Uniglobe from past 10 years. So you know the value of us, we know the value of them, the inputs in our project. But such kind of new solutions, right? We need a lot of support from both sides. Maybe there's an investment from both sides rather
Absolutely, I agree.
than a one-sided investment.
I agree.
So
Because
that is where I feel that agentic AI elements will pick up in some places. And there are some feature sets, especially as he told, the personalization features. Having a ready-made tool set to talk to the travel consultant, to talk to the person, the traveler there, wherein he has entire context about the traveler. When he gives, say for example, he says Midhun@tripgain.com, and then you get what is your travel policy, what is your preference, what was your last choice, when did you travel last, did you travel through Innova, did you travel through this one, did you take Air India, is your preference is Indigo, all that flights, because most of the times these trips are repeated. So 80% of the business trips are all repeated, and they're all simple trips. We feel that it is very complex. The complexity comes with the 20% of the tools. So the second element is the personalization, which we spoke about. So TMCs will love this personalization element in future. That is what is which we are planning to bring in. And the next one is in OBT side, we are planning to build a lot of convenience tools for the travelers.
Okay.
Getting your boarding pass then and there, alerting them with the hotel location, destination, alerting them with the upcoming cab details. Because most of the times people, when they book, they forget about their boarding passes, their tickets, their hotels and all. We pass a checklist and we send them in the WhatsApp. So kind of a WhatsApp adoption. Most of the travelers are adopted to WhatsApp these days rather than email. I look my email every once in a day these days, and WhatsApp every 1 second a day. That's strange. So that's how the
you know what? Because WhatsApp is more of an entertainment device. That's why you want to pick it up at a leisure, right? But email is more like you can't be at work at all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's different. So these kind of tools, this is the OBT side also we are building, and also in terms of overall user convenience side. Though corporates see auditing policy, adherence to the policies also is important. Experience side also we are bringing in some elements which can make his job easier in terms of creation of trips. For example, I'll tell you one feature where creation of the trip. If a person who has to travel to Delhi, for example, I am going to Delhi on Tuesday, I have to go in the morning, come in the evening. I have 2 places where I travel. Okay, I give my locations and it should cater me onward flight, return flight. If it is a 2-day trip, a hotel, and then the cab, which is at disposal. That's it. Curate a solution for me and give me 5 options rather than I choose my own onward flight, I choose my own return flight, I choose my own cab, I choose my own this one.
And only with the personal experience. Again the content.
Previous context.
Yes.
AIs, policies. Policies also important, right? I am eligible for some things, I am not eligible for some things.
Right.
Based on fit my eligibility, fit my policy and everything together, and then curate a package for me. It's the end of a package.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Give me 5 options. Maybe 5 of them I'll choose one. Then I'll say yes.
It's as if you're going and saying that, hey, I want the usual.
Absolutely.
Just go there and say, okay, I'm flying to Delhi. This is my usual itinerary that I have.
Yes.
What is that you have best within the constraints the policy constraints that you have set?
Absolutely. These are the kind of trends which we are trying to build in the short term. Yeah. In the longer term, agentic AI elements will come into picture in terms of travel counselor, the traveler and the travel agent and the TMC. Everywhere there are some elements which can be automated through agentic AI. What as one of the use cases which Ankur has narrated very nicely. Those are the elements which we are focusing on for the next 1 year. And also integration levels. A lot of integration. There are the integrations have to be. It has to be 100%. There is no choice because international travelers, solo fares, different regions. Travel has become it's an important element of a business now. And travel costs are close to the 10% of the overall cost of the company, 10 to 12% of the overall cost of the company. It's a huge. So we definitely have to, and air travel is growing, other travels are growing. So to have that, we have to have more integrations in place. Right. So that's what is the next focus.
I think I wish, it's like the chicken and egg story. Would the TMC pay the money or would the tech development, raise their capital in a way? And I think there's never going to be an answer to that, right? But the reality is that India is at the cusp of this particular growth. So if you look at the mid-market, even if you look at the economic, indicators, they're all talking about, only a northward direction, right? Including business travel, including leisure. And I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the prediction is that we'll be, having Germany as a fast follower, and we'll be far ahead from them. If that is the truth, I think somebody who is much more well funded and experienced perhaps either need to own up that tech company or need to own up that level of somebody who sees the future and also has the capital. Otherwise, we will always be in that cat and mouse game.
Absolutely.
Right? Who spends, who invests, may not sell, may sell. So I think that thing needs to come. Travel industry has not been very sexy for a lot of entrepreneurs to come in and put in that amount of money, without having to feel the brunt of it, that hey, I lost it. You don't see a lot of startup companies really coming up to that level, even if it's a very valuable product, to which he very rightly said that who will monetize that. So then the business economic takes precedence even before the need. Sometimes the need cannot be monetized immediately in the immediate term. So I will completely respect his thought in terms of agentic AI. But where is the travel consultant spending their time? I think that time and motion, that Six Sigma analysis needs to be done by somebody. And that's the pitch. Who does it? The TMC will think, I'm not a tech company. I only know this, but I don't have the language to be able to explain it to a tech company. That's why now you have a product company. There were only two extremes, tech company, not tech company. Today you have a product company. If the product company can bridge that gap, I think these companies will make hay while the sun will shine, because the idea is saving time. Nobody has time. So if the cost of the travel consultant is increasing respectably, then let's do something which can curtail his administrative time, remove his redundancy oriented tasks, and just give him what really the travel consultant is skilled for. So, looking into the travel policy, picking up itineraries, 80-20 rule, just the vanilla flavors one, the point-to-point one, no-brainer ones. When you do that, then is the time when you leave purposefully the 20%, which is the naughty edge cases. Drop it for that. In the first phase, in the first sprint cycle for a few years, leave it like that. The voice recognition of Siri and Alexa just didn't come up with the very first model of the phone that they launched. They evolved over a period of time. Right? Otherwise, I remember Dragon natural speaking course came 25 years ago, the speech to text. Nowadays, speech to text is like crazy. Even your iPhone, if you open up the voice recorder, it can do a fantastic, transcription of that. So it's taken time. Yep. But I would request these tech companies, because they are smarter in terms of just the TMCs whose job is to get in terms with customer thing. Pick up the areas where the travel consultant's time will be saved, or the back office job time will be reduced, or the productivity efficiency gains are there. I don't think so. No TMC, small or big, can afford to, not look at that and be like a good mathematician, good statistical guy with fancy marketing tools, toys, those funny 30-second, 1-minute reel or spreadsheet, send it over with a fancy looking infographics. Everybody will be enticed, become a part of those podiums, those trade shows that we have, and show that what does it take to save this amount of money. I think that's the pitch. That's the pitch. And it has a lot of value. And then it's a matter of time. The day you find your critical mass, you're done. You're absolutely done. You've got the cost of your product. Now you're reaping in for the future investments and development, or harnessing your product line a bit better. I mean, that's my sincere request, and I expect our guys to be able to do that. The tech platform guys to be able to do that. It's the time to be in.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you brought, because now the tech is also rising up to that challenge, especially I think from travel tech side, right? And again, with AI, with all these other technologies that's coming in as well, I think it's accelerating that.
Absolutely. Yes. It's become friendlier also. APIs are there. It's so easy to integrate. Yes. 10 years ago, you had databases, you had to write queries, you had to make tables. It was so difficult. It's still difficult today, but not as difficult as it used to be. The attitude is more plug and play, which is what everybody wants.
We are really looking forward to be part of your conference, which is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be there 12th and 13th of September, no hotel. You have to be there.
We try to pitch in some of your ideas on this one.
Absolutely, please.
Let's do something.
100%, 100%, all in it.
Okay, with that note, I think then we'll wind this up. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ankur. Thanks, Ranga.
Thank you.
I think it's been a great webinar, great discussion. Look forward to the next one. Right?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ankur.
Thank you.
a lot.